Peace be out to you and yours, and a lot of love. In this day and age, that's what we need. We need that love in our life. And when we go about incorporating that love, that genuine feeling of going about holding on to love, it will help us. It will help us in that we will be able to look for and comfort the many challenges that come about in our lives. Now, when it comes to life only goes about asking that you stay true to yourself. Life doesn't ask for anything else. It only asks that you go about being true to who you are. It doesn't want you to be anybody else, because being anybody else, you wouldn't know what to do with it, because all you know is you. But the reason I go about saying this in this accord is too many of us have gone about living by a perception rather than comfort or reality of being ourselves. And I know it's tough right now because there's so many different facets and so many different things grabbing at your attention. There's these social medias, there's these magazines, there's TV ads, and everybody wants to pull you in a direction. But the trick in being yourself is to comfort the idea that no matter how you're being viewed, you find comfort in your skin. And with saying that, it's only when we go about loving ourselves, only when we come to terms with who we are. Like the old adage song, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. The guy's wishing for everything that he's not. And rather than just come to terms with that, he a little bit over damn 4'11", you see. And because he wants to be taller, he's doing it for all the wrong reasons. He doesn't come to realize that he was born that way for a reason. And because of perception, a lot of guys believe that if I present myself in a certain kind of way, that will go about making me more attractive to females. If I wear a certain type of clothes, if I go about driving a certain type of car, then that is what everybody else will take notice of me. But the reason I go about bringing these things up in this accord is this. If you could afford it, fine, go for it. Live a lavish lifestyle. But if you can't afford it, then at the end of the day, you're only fooling yourself. You're not fooling anybody else. Because when the bill come due, ain't nobody gonna be there to help you pay that bill. So in being yourself, it's all about coming to know what you can do and what you are not gonna go about pressured into doing. Because peer pressure is a big factor. And at first I thought it was only something with kids, but I see that it's common at all different stages of life. Like I know some people, somebody goes out and get a car. The next friend will have a car that's working perfectly fine. But just because that other friend, when they got a car, they feel pressured in keeping up. They're not even realizing the reason why that person got a car. Now, in trying to keep up with somebody else, you can't go about paying attention to what's going on in your life because you're always chasing after something. But the beauty of it all is become satisfied with what you have. Make it so that it's okay. If you got a little Pinto and it gets you from point A to point B with no problems, then you good. You don't have to want to drive a Benz. You don't have to want to get a damn 7-bedroom house and it's only you and your dog. Why are we trying to take ourselves to these such extraneous levels when all it does, it goes about putting a strain on us? Because the people we're trying to impress aren't even that worried about what you're doing. They might take a quick glance, but yet at the same time, they not gonna be like, man, that's the thing to do. Because people want to show out to people who have less than them, just so they can make themselves feel as if though they sitting on top of the world. But this goes back to the old notion. The emptiest barrel makes the most noise. So if anything that goes about presenting itself with a lot of flash, it has no substance. You want to be a person that has substance. Like, one of the things that carries us on this journey is when we come to terms, when we come to realize where we're at in this journey of life, then we can start making that change. Because as much as I want everybody to do good in this world, that's not going to be the case. As much as I want everybody to be well off, that's not going to be the case. Because not everybody is going to go about doing what is required of them to go about getting ahead. You see, some of us, we will just sit back and play the victim. We will go about blaming others for our misfortunes. But change only starts when you go about making that change. And the reason I go about saying this is, in the land of opportunities, nobody's telling you can't do it, but you. So now if you are holding on to an attitude and telling yourself that you're incapable of doing some of the things that you are setting out to do, then it's not going to get done. And that's why it goes into a mindset. Yesterday I spoke on temperament. Temperament is very key and important, but a healthy mindset is the icing on the cake. Because with a healthy mindset, it allows you the fortitude, the grit, the determination that no matter what you go through in life, that you're capable of achieving it. You see, when you start to believe, that will go about laying the groundwork It will help you to realize all the things that you're capable of. But if we have a mindset that everything we do is going to be flawed, then how far do you think you're going to get? It starts with the mind. The chakras teach you there are 7 chakras, but the highest of the chakras is up here. The highest of the elevation. Your brain goes about processing so much information just so that you could go about functioning. And because some of us, let it be the environment, let it be the society, let it be the struggles of life, we have dialed down how we go about our outlook towards life. We beat ourselves down. We tell ourselves all these inconceivable things, and in that we can't go about accomplishing what we've set out to do. And that is a crying shame. We must change that mindset. It's only then will we be allowed to go about reaping the benefits of our hard labor. You see, without work, there's no pay. You can't get paid if you don't want to go to work. Even a thief is working his ass off. You don't work, you don't eat. And that's the name of the game. So anybody who is going around conditioning their mental to go about wanting less, they need to go about reconstructing that, recalibrating that. Because if the mind is not healthy, the body will become sick. And with the body becoming sick, it plagues us with all different anxieties, depression, loneliness. But we must reprogram the mind. Reprogramming the mind is consisting of looking at what situation you're faced with, looking at what your conditions are in life, so that you could go about finding ways to go about improving and stop sitting there complaining. Nobody wants to hear complaints except for a therapist. But even then, you still got to pay that therapist. You see, counseling is good. It relieves things off of your chest and find a way in coping with different things. But even then, you still have to come to the acknowledgement that you must go about doing something about it. It's a personal choice that all who are on this journey have to go about making. Everybody could want it, but you gotta go get it. And if you don't go get it, then ain't nothing gonna change. But let's just say we all got our way in life. Everything that we ever wanted was right at our feet. Would we find placement and joy in that even though we hadn't worked for it? You see, for a person to go about laboring brings value and understanding in how things work. But a lot of us have come to go about negating the process in which we go about extracting out of what we're doing. Every struggle, every lesson is meant to go about teaching you something. Going back to the old notion, is the glass half full or is the glass with water half empty. It's all dependent upon outlook. And with outlook, it's then we could go about making that change that is necessary. Because if we do not go about seeing the condition in which we are in, if we are living in such a fallacy, in such a falsehood, telling ourselves things which is not true, and wondering why are we still getting the same exact results, it's because we don't want to change. We have become comfortable lying to ourselves. And that within there is a problem. Because you tell enough lies, eventually you'll start to believe your own lies. And in believing your own lies, it will be hard to go about visiting reality. Like the battered woman syndrome. The man beats her because he's worthless. But he pumps his victim up with lies and then telling that woman that you are worthless because nobody's gonna want you except for me. And she'll take the abuse because she has allowed herself to go about believing that lie that that man has told her. And in accepting that piece of shit's lie, she takes the abuse. But the one thing about life is everything only lasts for a moment. Nothing lasts forever. So no matter how abusive that man had treated that woman, there'll come that time and moment where that woman will go about realizing, I am not worthless. And she will leave that man. She will seek better within herself because within her is the spirit of love. So the reason I go about giving you this is that despite what others go about saying about you, despite how others try to go about treating you, there's a love within you, and that love burns. That love is what will go about setting you free. Allow that love to come out of you. Allow that love to be vibrant. Allow that love to go about radiating. Allow that love to go about lighting up the midnight skies. It's almost as if though the sun had appeared out of nowhere, but it's only your love that is burning. That's the love. That's the love that you need to walk with every damn day. That's the love that you need to carry with you at all times. And in carrying that love, it is a flame that none could go about diminishing because you were born with that love. You just have to let that love live. Stop diminishing your spark just to go about pleasing others, because worthlessness will try to go about diminishing your spark. You see, the one thing that we must all come to realize is that when you go about loving you, you have just gone about granting everybody else permission to go about loving you. But when you start hating you, you have just given everybody else permission to start hating you. When you have become bitter, when you have become angry. And the reason I go about saying these things in this, and life is not as so. Life is as I demand of myself, so do I demand of everybody else. Because if you're not holding yourself up, who do you expect to hold you up? If you're not doing right by yourself, how do you expect others to do right by you? Because if I'm not setting the bar, then I should be able to accept everything else that others go about treating me, looking at me, demeaning me, talking me down. But life doesn't work that way. Life works in a format in which that we allow people to treat us how they treat us. Because if you don't put a stop to foolishness, foolishness persists. And then when foolishness persists and it gets out of hand, you can't blame that other person because you have given that person a free reign and pass in which they could go about and how they go about treating you. So, you see where I'm going with this? It's best that you make it so that you start each and every day by loving you. And in loving you, it will help you. It will transform you. It will allow you to go about garnering the right mindset, the right attitude, despite anything that you may go through in life. Make it so. It's okay. It's okay in loving you. It's okay in you putting you first. It's okay to say no. But what's not okay is that you become everybody else's stepping stool. That shit is not okay. Never will be. And the only way you can go about being good to others is when you start being good to yourself. Now, that's the blessing in all lessons. We have to go about looking at life and seeing that if a tree does not get water, how will the tree ever grow? The tree cannot grow if the tree is not watered. For those who have grass, if you do not water your lawn, it will surely perish. For those who do not go about giving the body, the mind, the proper nourishment, what do you think is going to take place? We can't cheat the laws of nature. We must give things its proper accord. And in giving things its proper accord, then we see the benefits of it. If you drive around and you see how the effects of neglect has taken a hold on society, it's discouraging in that young people no longer rush to help the seniors or the elders. Everybody is so wrapped up in their own little world that we do not care what direction life goes in. And because we do not care what direction life goes in, it propagates a falsehood. A falsehood in that we feel estranged and feel alone because nobody carrying on in the basicest of manners with the greeting salutations of good morning or good evening or how's your day going? Nobody. Because everybody is so wrapped up in their devices that they don't want to miss the next best thing. But within that, These are only traps to make you go about leaving what's most important behind. And that is you. You must prioritize yourself at the end of every day and go about looking at it, and what didn't work for you, leave that alone. What work with it. You can't take today's problem into yesterday. You can't take tomorrow's problem into the day before. So, in order for us to go about having a healthy mindset, we need to stop worrying about the what ifs, what went wrong, what this. No, all you need to start promoting your mindset with is, let me engage in whatever it is that I am doing. Let me become fixated in what I am doing so that I can go about doing the best job possible. And once you have done the best job possible, don't worry about the what ifs, because what's going to happen is going to happen. Life is going to happen. We can't dictate the pace of life. We can't plant watermelons and expect to be harvesting grapes, you see. But some of us, we have become so convinced and in thinking that we could go about changing things. And in changing things, it makes us feel as if though we are God. But that's a fallacy within itself. If we start to go about paying attention to the encounters that we have, we will see that some people are just no damn good. We will see that some people are just full of shit. But because we have this holistic ideology, I could fix them, I could change them. We make all these excuses. They are acting this way because of some irrational excuse we go about telling ourselves, just to go about validating whatever point we need to validate to ourselves. But when it doesn't turn out the way we anticipated or wanted it to go, we become bitter, we become angry. And in becoming bitter and angry, we tell ourselves, but I did this, I was there for that person, I helped this person. And when the person in turn doesn't share the same sentiment, we become so discouraged. And we start to blame everybody else. But we don't want to see the blame, because we don't want to be honest with ourselves. We don't want to go about telling ourselves that we goofed up in life. And because we goofed up in life, all the signs were there, but we planted watermelons and expected to harvest grapes. Life does not change. One of the things that I constantly try to go about telling people, if people had the ability to go about listening, they would see that people go about telling us who they are. All we have to do is be cognizant and listen, because they will go about demonstrating. My mom's grandfather, she said, when you're dating somebody, everybody's a perfect angel on the first couple of dates. But after the fifth or the sixth date, that's when you're going to go about seeing their true nature. And no matter what kind of person people try to go about pretending or illustrating themselves to be, their true nature will eventually show. But within their true nature being shown, you cannot go about lying to yourself. You cannot tell yourself what you're seeing is not true, because that within itself is not a healthy mindset. You see, like, one of the things that was disturbing to me as a kid, we used to go to this park and we would get down, play ball and stuff like that. Excuse me. And at playing ball, one dude was on a bus and the other dude had a BMW, I think, one of the things. So it's getting late. So the one brother was like, all right, man, I'm gonna holler at y'all. And the other brother started walking in the opposite direction, but I found this like to be odd. So in the one brother walking in the opposite direction, I was like, my mans, your brother about to leave, why you don't get a ride with him? And dude was like, man, we don't even get down like that. But even with that, that really never erased my mind, because it showed an unhealthy mind. Let it be due to pride, let it be due to ignorance, let it be due to just selfishness or just hatred. And an unhealthy mind will go about producing things which is unhealthy. Now, that would have been the same brother that would have been boo-hoo crying if something would have happened to his brother at the bus stop. You see, we want to pretend to be some things, but we don't carry ourselves in that light. And because we want to pretend so much, it leaves us wondering, are we really being truthful to ourselves? There's many things that we need to go about working on. And the way how we go about carrying on should reflect the same attitude and positivity coming from up here. You can't talk a good game and act a cowardly sham. It just doesn't match up. It's best when we do good, that good goes about following us. When we go about living right, righteousness becomes our friend. Because in the end, I'm gonna tell y'all, ain't nobody told you, but I'm pretty sure y'all heard it before. You're gonna reap what you sow. So if you are harnessing selfishness, bitterness, angry, hatred mentality, that's what you're gonna reap. But the key to life is nobody know when they're gonna have to pay. So I say to go about averting all of that. Go ahead and start living righteous, man. Start living right. Do right. So that it may be right for you. Make it so that you go about changing that mind. Because no one knows. And because nobody knows, it's dependent upon you how things will go. And that's why it's something in that I need for you to go about making that conscientious choice in reflection of your attitude and how you go about seeing life, how you go about dealing with life, and keeping positive despite what you are going through. Make it so that you go about becoming that light that lights up the sky. Because simply, every day people are looking for hope. And looking for hope, they are looking for that inspiration. And that's like what I go about telling everybody. Become that motivation that will go about helping others come to terms with what they're going through in life. Believe it or not, there's more people who shares a viewpoint of not coming to terms with reality than one would go about reckoning with. And in that's my blessing. I love y'all. One.